afternoon, folks. It's been a busy couple days for all of you. Let me begin by thanking Director Young. You know, you've heard me say this before over the years. My dad had an expression. He said, "Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget. I'll tell you what you value." Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value. Well, the budget I'm releasing today sends a clear message to the American people that what we value. First, fiscal responsibility. Second, safety and security. And thirdly, the investments needed to build a better America. The first value is fiscal responsibility. The previous administration, as you all know, ran up record budget deficits. In fact, the deficit went up every year under my predecessor. My administration is turning that around. Last year, we cut the deficit by more than $350 billion. This year, we're on track to cut the deficit by more than $1,300 billion. $1,300 billion. That would be the largest one-year reduction in the deficit in U.S. history. And here's how we're achieving it, this record deficit reduction. First, we're growing the economy. We've created a record 6.7 million jobs since I took office, and we've generated a GDP growth of 5.7%, the best economic growth we've seen in this country in over 40 years. This has led to substantial increase in government revenues and dramatically improved our fiscal situation. Secondly, this record economic and job growth has made it possible for us to responsibly and significantly cut back on emergency spending. Early in the pandemic, it was right to give people help to make ends meet and to keep this economy going. Because of the progress we've made dealing with these emergencies, the labor market is strong and unemployment claims are at historic lows. We ended the pandemic unemployment assistance programs because Americans are back to work. I'm calling for new pandemic subsidies for large businesses to not continue those because those businesses are back and moving again as well. But because we have to put this economy in a strong foundation, even the Delta and Omicron variants of COVID-19 and the cost of Putin's aggression in Ukraine have not required an additional fiscal package for state and local governments. But we still spend what we need to spend to continue to fight COVID. But those expenditures will be dramatically less than last year. Compared to 2020, we're reducing the size of the deficit relative to our economy by almost 2/3, reducing inflationary pressures, and making real headway cleaning up the fiscal mess I inherited. After my predecessor's fiscal mismanagement, we were reducing the Trump deficits and returning our fiscal house to order. Now, the budget I'm releasing today will continue this approach. It makes prudent investments in economic growth, a more equitable economy, while making sure corporations and the very wealthy pay their fair share. And I would add, nobody making less than $400,000 a year will pay a penny more in federal taxes. We can do this by, one, passing legislation that lowers costs for families on things like child care, health care, and energy costs, while lowering our deficit at the same time. We can give hardworking parents raising children tax relief that gives them just a little bit of breathing room and lowers child poverty. We can give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices. This will bring down the cost for seniors and reduce the deficit by hundreds of billions of dollars. Congress can do this all right now. They're debating it now. We can also restore fiscal responsibility. The Trump tax cuts added $2 trillion in deficit spending and largely helped the rich and the largest corporations. Under my plan, as I said, no one making less than $400,000 a year will pay additional single penny in taxes. No one. If you don't make $400,000, you're not going to pay a single penny in additional federal taxes. And the wealthy and corporations will finally begin to pay their fair share. For most Americans, the last few years were very hard, stretching them to the breaking point. But billionaires and large corporations got richer than ever. Right now, billionaires pay an average rate of 8% on their total income. 8%, that's the average they pay. Now, I'm a capitalist, but if you make $1 billion, great. Just pay your fair share. Pay a little bit. A firefighter and a teacher pay more than double the tax rate that a billionaire pays. That's not right. That's not fair. And my budget contains a billionaire minimum tax because of that. A 20% minimum tax that applies only to the top 1/100th of 1%. 1/100th of 1% of the Americans will pay this tax. The billionaire minimum tax is fair, and it raises $360 billion that can be used to lower costs for families and cut the deficit. As I said, my budget also ensures the corporations pay their fair share. In 2020, there were 50 Fortune 500 companies that made $40 billion in profit combined, but didn't pay a single solitary cent in federal taxes. My budget raises the corporate tax rate to 28%, far lower than the rate it was between World War II and 2017 when it was lowered as of today. Last year, I rallied more than 100, some of you were overseas with me, 130 countries to agree to a global minimum tax for corporations doing business in their countries, to put an end to a tax system that rewards multinational corporations for shipping the jobs and profits overseas and avoiding taxes at home. It's my hope that Congress enacts this law this year so I can sign it and we can get to work. The second value my budget reflects is security. Security at home and security abroad. My budget tackles security in two key ways. First, it secures our communities at home. This is an issue families in every part of the country face. I've said it before. The answer is not to defund our police departments. It's to fund our police and give them all the tools they need, training and foundation and partners and protectors that our communities need. The budget puts more police on the street for community policing, so they get to know the community they're policing, allows the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and the FBI to hire the agents they need to help fight gun crime and other violent crimes in our communities, and funds body cameras and make sure police work with our local communities and are accountable to these communities. It funds crime prevention and community violence intervention, drug treatment, mental health, criminal justice reform, and reentry for people coming home after incarceration. All demonstrable ways to reduce crime and proven ways. Security also means national and international security. This budget provides the resources we need to keep Americans safe, ensuring that our military remains the best prepared, best trained, best equipped military in the world. This budget also provides additional funding to forcefully respond to Putin's aggression against Ukraine and its economic, humanitarian, and security consequences. The world has changed. In addition to dealing with terrorist organizations, for the second quarter of the 21st century, we're once again facing increased competition from other nation states, China and Russia, which are going to require investments to make things like space and cyber and other advanced capabilities, including hypersonics. And this will be among the largest investments in our national security in history. Some people don't like the increase, but we're in a different world today. America is more prosperous, more successful, and more just when it is more secure. We can restore fiscal responsibility and safeguard our security at home and abroad while meeting the third value, what I call building a better America. Let's provide universal preschool, cap the cost of child care at 7% of a family's income. Like many families, that would cut the cost of child care in half. It'll make college more affordable. My budget doubles the maximum Pell Grant. Families making under $50,000 a year to nearly $13,000 and helps more than 8 million students who rely on Pell Grants pay for college. My budget invests in building more homes to keep us up to deal with the skyrocketing cost of housing for the middle class and the poor. My budget lowers family energy costs with tax credits to help people make their homes more efficient. Research and development to broaden the reach of solar and build a clean energy future. My budget also invests in other areas of bipartisan common good. I call them unity agendas. I spoke to them at the State of the Union. beating the opioid epidemic, taking on challenges of mental health, supporting our veterans, and ending cancer as we know it. This budget includes investments to get Americans the mental health services they need, and we need them. And when it comes to fighting cancer and other diseases, my budget funds a new organization called ARPA-H, that's Health and Human Services, at the Department of Health. And it stands for Advanced Research Projects for Health. It's based on DARPA, the Defense Department program, that led to breakthroughs in technologies like the Internet, GPS, and so much more. ARPA-H will drive breakthroughs to prevent, detect, and treat diseases, including Alzheimer's, diabetes, cancers, and more. And here's what this all adds up to. Historic deficit reduction, historic investment in our security at home and abroad by modernizing our capabilities in both areas, and an unprecedented commitment to building an economy where everyone has a chance to succeed. A plan to pay for those investments that we need as a nation. That's what we do. So I look forward to working with the members of Congress, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, to deliver this budget and keep delivering for the American people. I want to thank you all. May God bless you all. May God protect our troops.